This is the Rita Cosby Show.
I don't know if you have seen the video, but it's so disturbing in the Uvalde, Texas school case. They have just released the video, and we've talked about this case on the show a lot because there were so many mistakes made by law enforcement. Remember when Steve McCraw, who is head of the Texas Department of Public Safety, said this almost immediately after that horrible school shooting took place in Uvalde, Texas.
There's compelling evidence that the law enforcement response to the attack at Robb Elementary was an abject failure and antithetical to everything we've learned over the last 2 decades since the Columbine massacre.
And he said they were an abject failure. Abject failure. Well, now the video is showing exactly what many have also already surmised, but to see the video is unbelievable. Just to give you a sense, basically, they are waiting. Then there's gunshots, and a number of officers are retreating as opposed to running toward the gunfire. We're also seeing that one guy at one point is getting hand sanitizer as there's still the shooting going on. He's getting hand sanitizer. That to me is like one of the worst things I've ever seen. Who is thinking about their dirty hands at a time like that? And then finally, at an hour 17, Border Patrol agents take down the gunman. But there is a huge wait from once they get the shield to when they go in to when they're just sitting around in the hallways. It at least looks really bad. And I want to take your calls on what you think should be the repercussions of this. What are the lessons for this? We're such huge supporters of law enforcement. And I always am a big fan of our men and women in blue. But the footage tonight is so bad. And to see that one of these officers is actually in there getting hand sanitizer at a time where the gunman's there, and there are reports, and you can see it, that apparently this girl is calling over and over again saying, please help, please help, please help, calling about 5 different times as well as others. So they knew that this was still going on. And we are now talking about the Uvalde school shooting here on the Rita Cosby Show because the new video just came out a few hours ago, and it is hard to watch. It's disturbing to watch. I'm such a fan of law enforcement, but there were some huge mistakes that look like they were made here. And if you see the video, it's some of our worst fears. You see them sort of standing around. You see at one point a guy getting hand sanitizer while he's in the hallway. Another, like, just kind of with their weapons, just kind of standing around. And meanwhile, the shooting was continuing in the classroom. People were calling in saying, please help us. And they did finally get a shield, but then it took another 30 minutes after they got the shield to actually use the shield, which protects them from this, high-powered weaponry. It is stunning. And, of course, it's heartbreaking when you see what happened. And the end result, 19 kids killed, 2 teachers. And there are so many angry family members tonight in Uvalde, and understandably so. What are your thoughts about this? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Patrick in Virginia. Patrick, what are your thoughts as you hear what's on the video that just got released? It's the surveillance footage.
Yes, ma'am. I watched the video probably about 40 minutes ago, and the whole video in general is just kind of sickening, but it really got to me probably about not even 5 minutes in once, the individual enters the school, and you see not even minutes later, first it's maybe at least 6 to 8 cops just running in there, not 100 feet from the doorway. They hear these shots going on, and with the exception of 2 who kind of get close to the door, the rest of them don't do anything. At one point, literally one guy standing on the corner, pistol in one hand, and pulls out his phone to send a text to whoever. I get that for a family member, but again, you can hear shots going off in a classroom. On some of the edited videos, you cannot hear it, but it states that there are children screaming that they had to edit out of it. It's just that, and then when it gets to the point of fully armed and armored individuals in that hallway, literally with the doorway to the room in sight, and they just stand there. Literally, I was in tears. Oh. Yes, the loss of life is horrible, but just literally sitting there and watching, literally, again, as armed individuals. Why are you a cop?
Right. And you know what, Patrick, and obviously I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement, and they do an amazing job 99.999% of the time. But I felt the same way. I was sickened. I actually felt like I was about to cry too when I saw it. It was so hard to watch. And then at 57 minutes into the tape, you see this guy going and getting hand sanitizer. I'm thinking, who's thinking of hand sanitizer? Like, how dare you think about cleaning your hands when there is still two classrooms that were under assault by this guy. It's heartbreaking. Let's go to Mike real quick, line 7. Mike, your thoughts about this?
Hi, Rita. I'm a retired cop. I haven't gotten a chance to see the video yet. But what if you're saying is true? It's disgusting, and being fired is the least of their worries. They should probably be brought up on criminal charges. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I think so too, sadly, Mike. And I love the police so much, and I appreciate, by the way, your service, obviously, tremendously. But if your responsibility, and you know this firsthand, Mike, and I've talked to so many great men and women in law enforcement, it's hard when the bullets are flying, but that's what you are hired to do. And especially when they had the shield, that to me is the hardest thing. When you see that they actually had what protected them and they're still waiting 30 minutes, that is a lifetime. And boy, my thoughts and prayers tonight are with the people there in Uvalde, Texas.